Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Dwayne Archibald, Head of Emergency Room at Joseph and France Hospital. Novel coronavirus has been topic of conversation globally and of course in St. Kitts and Nevis. Basically, the word novel in coronavirus identifies that this is something new to the human being. In preparation of COVID-19 in St. Kitts and Nevis, we have to be able to identify the symptoms. These symptoms may include fever for a prolonged period of time, coughing for a prolonged period of time, shortness of breath, or any respiratory type symptoms. In addition, for prevention, we should avoid holding hands, shaking hands, sharing forks, knives, spoons, and even cups. So consider avoiding touching one's face, nose, mouth, eyes. So to avoid self-contamination, that is touching the face, we are advised to use alcohol-based hand sanitizers. Now these alcohol-based hand sanitizers should have at least 60 to 70% alcohol in it. We should also consider washing our hands thoroughly when handling babies before and after, also in the case of the sick and the elderly. So when I speak of sick people, I refer to elderly over 60, I refer to people with hypertension, diabetes, kidney compromise or kidney failure. Hand hygiene is important in cooking. We should wash our hands thoroughly before and after handling raw meat. Cooking boards should be separate for raw food and cooked food. And of course, the raw meat should be cooked thoroughly. For the pet owners, they should also consider washing their hands before and after dealing with pets. The virus can get on any other inanimate objects such as doorknobs, computer screens, computer keyboards, and we should consider wiping those down with Lysol or Clorox. Let us try to build our immune system. Exercise, rest, vitamins, vitamin C especially, also fruits and vegetables, and hydration, drinking lots and lots of water. There is a lot of misleading information being spread about the COVID-19 rumors. So what we do suggest is that you follow up with the Ministry of Health in terms of their Facebook page. Also, there's information that's readily available from WHO, World Health Organization, or from Caribbean Public Health Agency. So for further information on COVID-19, we can visit the social media outlets or social media pages of the Ministry of Health through the St. Kitts Health Promotion Unit on the Facebook, on Instagram, and also on YouTube. Or we can just call 467-1172 or 467-1108.
So you understand what's going on?
Yeah man, it's easy.
Okay, cool. Alright, then it looks like you know what's going on.
Older children may need less supervision, but they need your full support. A few tips for assisting children with online or home-based study. Check in regularly. Ask questions about what they are doing. Don't shout or get frustrated if they don't understand. Encourage them to take breaks from time to time. Be affectionate. Be positive. Sometimes a simple touch goes a long way. As much as possible, provide a comfortable space for children to work in. You may want to be more lenient with the desired study location for teens. Encourage them to focus by minimizing distractions such as television, music, or telephone. As much as possible, encourage them to separate their eating spaces from their study spaces, minimizing the risk of damaging devices. Parent registration for Flow Study. Step 1. Enter www.flowstudy.co. The Flow Study site should open. If it doesn't, go to www.google.com. Enter flowstudy.co in the Google search engine. Step 2. Click on the link that opens flowstudy.co. Step 3. Click on Get Started in the upper right-hand corner. Step 4. Select Sign Up. Now enter your email address in the box provided. Step 5. Get started using your email. Step 6. Select Parent Account. Enter your personal information and click Next. Step 7. Create your password. Step 8. Select your country. Step 9. Link your account to your child's account by selecting Use Email. Step 10. Enter the email address given to you by the school and the password. Congratulations, you've just signed up as a Flow Study parent.
Before touching the mask, clean hands with an alcohol-based hand rub or soap and water. Take the mask and inspect it for tears or holes. Orient which side is the top side, where the metal strip is. Ensure the proper side of the mask faces outwards, the colored side. Place the mask to your face. Pinch the metal strip or stiff edge of the mask so it molds to the shape of your nose. Pull down the mask's bottom so it covers your mouth and your chin. After use, take off the mask. Remove the elastic loops from behind the ears while keeping the mask away from your face and clothes. To avoid touching potentially contaminated surfaces of the mask, discard the mask in a closed bin immediately after use.
Many people's income has been severely reduced as a result of the pandemic. There are real concerns about taking care of self and family in this current financial climate. In order to help to manage the stress and anxiety related to financial concerns, focus on gathering information. What concessions being offered by banks and businesses could I rely on to help me? Prioritizing. What bills must be paid first? Which ones could be deferred until a later time? Which ones could be negotiated? Brainstorming. What other activity could bring in an income at this time? Remember, financial concerns are very real and could lead to distress and worry if they are left unchecked. Finding a way to problem solve helps to reduce the stress and anxiety that come with financial woes. This message comes to you from the St. Kitts Mental Health Association. Extreme sadness and feelings of despair could be some of the things people are noticing in themselves during this unusual time. Pay specific attention to see if you have feelings of discouragement, hopelessness, irritability, difficulty concentrating, and disruptions in eating and sleeping habits. Pay attention to your emotions and talk to someone if they are feeling overwhelming. Focus on positive messages that you get from your environment. Listen to uplifting music, stories, or news items. Distract your thoughts by doing something like reading a book, doing a puzzle, coloring, or playing a game. Humor helps to lift moods. Watch a comedy or have a good laugh with friends. Remember your own strengths. What are some positive things that have helped you feel better in the past? Remember, if you have tried everything and overwhelming feelings of sadness still persist, reach out for professional help. This message comes to you from the St. Kitts Mental Health Association.
Is on. Good afternoon and welcome once again to the National Emergency Operations Center COVID-19 Daily Briefing for the 15th of May 2020. I am Lesroy Williams. We thank you very much for joining us for today's broadcast, where we continue to update you on matters pertaining to the management of the COVID-19 pandemic here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. Of course, we continue to solicit your support in terms of helping to fight the COVID-19 virus here in St. Kitts and Nevis, and with partners such as the Ministry of Health, the COVID-19 National Task Force, the police, the other stakeholders, the media, and so on. We continue to manage the COVID-19 pandemic. Today I would like to invite Chief Personnel Officer in the Human Resource Management Department for Government, Ms. Sheridan Warner, to address us. Ms. Warner.
Good afternoon, everyone, and to persons listening in the wider St. Kitts and Nevis and online overseas. In times of crisis such as the one we are currently experiencing, HR is called to assess and contribute to a broader response that focuses on the well-being of our employees. COVID-19 is potentially the most significant crisis faced by our country for many, many years. Our primary focus in the civil service is to support the health and well-being of our employees. To achieve this and to keep delivering the services to society, we need to come together and work as an unified public service. As part of the national response to COVID-19, all public servants must work together to meet the critical needs which are evolving as the situation unfolds. We need to be flexible in how we tackle this and find ways to deliver the critical public services needed to support our communities. We all have a part to play in seeing this crisis through, and this will involve finding creative and innovative ways to deliver public services. The question may be asked, how is the continuity of essential public services and attendance at the workplace being managed across the public service? It is a matter for each ministry and department senior leadership team to determine which services are currently essential to business continuity in the context of public service continuity plan, and to identify specific individuals required to manage the delivery of these services. All employees who can work from home should continue to do so. Only where ministries and departments deem it essential that people need to attend the workplace should they work on site. This is in line with Circular Number 7, 2020, dated 16th April 2020, which states, we must recognize that this is a trying time and that government has to continue to function. Therefore, as determined by the Permanent Secretary, all non-essential staff in ministries and departments should work from home. Sometimes working from home will not be possible due to the nature of the work. Therefore, the total number of employees in a facility at a given time should be reduced, allowing them to maintain the 6 feet distance from one another. The following have been put in place. Flexible work hours, examples, staggered shifts or alternate days. The shift system takes place on a schedule during 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. It will involve morning and afternoon shifts, rotating shifts where workers will take turns working on the morning and afternoon shifts or working alternate days. This system can be applied to any category of worker. We are to be mindful that at all times, where officers have to be at work, a safe distance of 6 feet must be maintained and good hand hygiene practice. End of circular. Where employees do not have access to remote working, management should explore every possible avenue of making a suitable arrangement. Management should continue to explore opportunities for work which can be performed at home, both inside and outside the organization. As the critical services come under increasing pressure, we have to ensure that critical services continue to be delivered over the coming weeks and months. Given the evolving nature of the crisis, we will need to ensure that engagement in this process is kept under continuous review. Therefore, at this time, flexible hours will be the standard approach across the entire public sector. We believe that the flexible working arrangements can support employees to manage caring responsibilities at home, including facilitating shared caring arrangements with other parents or a guardian. These measures will help to keep employees working while they are also managing caring responsibilities. Another question, what if employees are absent from the office due to caring responsibilities? Are they on special leave with pay? The answer, there is no special paid leave available for COVID-19 caring arrangements during this time. Therefore, all forms of flexible working must be considered, including working from home where possible and are working adjusted hours to facilitate balancing work and caring responsibilities. If no arrangement can be made, any employee who wishes to avail of existing leave during this time is entitled to have such requests considered. Lastly, but most importantly, we must not forget to show humanity and compassion. We should share strategies on how to stay physiologically resilient in the midst of these strange and difficult times. Business is not as usual right now, and it will take time to adjust to a new routine. There is much uncertainty, and the economic and social impacts of this pandemic will have long-lasting effects. It is key for HR to promote a climate of calm and stability, and this we will endeavor to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Warner, Chief Personnel Officer for the Government of St. Kitts and Nevis. I now invite Superintendent Henry, Divisional Commander for District A, to give us the law enforcement report. Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Williams, and a pleasant good afternoon to all. This afternoon, again, I am pleased to report that there have been no arrests for the past 24 hours for offenses under the emergency regulations. To date, the number of arrests stands at 133. Today is the final day of limited operation days for this week. The night curfew begins at 8:01 p.m. Businesses are required to close so as to give their staff and customers adequate time to get home. Gas stations and supermarkets should be closed by 6 p.m. and other smaller businesses, shops, etc., should be closed by 7 p.m. Tomorrow, May 16th and 17th, are 24 hours curfew days. This means residents should remain at their homes unless they are essential workers required for duty, they are in need of emergency medical care, or are exempted in writing by the Commissioner of Police. Additionally, persons who are caregivers are permitted to be out for that purpose during the daytime. Farmers and fishers are also permitted to be out between the hours of 7 and 9 a.m. and 4 and 6 p.m. to tend to their farms or vessels. All businesses shall remain closed, except, of course, for those businesses that provide security services or medical facility or other medical facilities. All forms of entertainment, places of religious worship, or other public gatherings are restricted. However, these events are permitted, or activities are permitted virtually. So if you are an entertainer, a religious institution, you can carry on or promote your activities virtually only. Please note that the easing of restrictions on visits to the beach does not apply on 24-hour curfew days. The beaches are off limits on these days. We crave your usual support, and we wish that you have a safe and blessed weekend. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Superintendent Henry. I now invite Chief Medical Officer of St. Kitts and Nevis, Dr. Hazel Laws, to give us the Health Emergency Operations Center COVID-19 situation report.
Thank you, Mr. Williams, and a pleasant good afternoon to everyone. Okay, so today, May 15, 2020, the World Health Organization reports that 4,307,287 confirmed cases of COVID-19, and the WHO also reports that there are 295,101 deaths from COVID-19 to date. In St. Kitts and Nevis, we have sampled and tested a total of 388 persons. 372 persons were confirmed negative, and 15 were confirmed positive. And today, we only have one result pending. Of the 15 positive cases, 14 persons have recovered, and there are 0 deaths to date. A total of 3 persons remain in quarantine, 1 in a government facility, while 2 persons are quarantined at home. 1 individual remains in isolation, and that individual is recovering nicely. To date, 811 persons have been released from quarantine, and this includes the most recent 51 individuals or persons who were repatriated from Jamaica. We are currently at day 26 without a new case. At this time, I want to take this opportunity to share some general health tips during this COVID-19 pandemic. And these can be seen on the screen. And so we want you to eat. We want to remind you about the need of choosing healthily in terms of your diet, because fruits and vegetables can boost your own immune system in response to COVID-19. Be physically active. Again, exercise boosts your immune system. Do not use any form of tobacco. Avoid or minimize the use of alcohol. These two substances affect or adversely affect your immune system. Try to manage your stress levels, because that too has a negative impact on your immune system. Remember to practice good hygiene, and particularly good hand hygiene. We keep saying that this is the best defense against the new coronavirus. Don't drink and drive, and don't speed or drink and drive. Remember to wear your seatbelt. Remember to practice safe sex. Get your health checks regularly, and mothers, breastfeeding is best for babies. So these are just 12 general health tips for any time, and particularly at this time in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. I would like to remind you that we are still fighting against a highly contagious virus. This battle is not over. This battle requires an all-of-society response. This afternoon, I want to remind you of your role and personal responsibilities. We want you to continue the hand hygiene practices, washing your hands after touching commonly touched surfaces, and keeping your hands out of your eyes, nose, and mouth. We want you to wear a face mask when in public spaces. Remember to protect yourself. Be supportive of others, especially or particularly the vulnerable and the older adults in your community and in your social network. Stay connected to friends and loved ones through the use of social media. Adhere to the social and physical distancing recommendations at all times. Remember, each of us have our part to play in protecting ourselves and others from this disease. It is our individual and collective responsibility. Therefore, adhere to the regulations, and we will see positive, and we will continue to see positive outcomes and win the fight against this invisible enemy. Hashtag stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Laws, for that report and the health tips that you would have shared. I now invite Mr. Abdias Samuel, Chair of the COVID-19 National Task Force and National Disaster Coordinator at NEMA, to give us his report. Mr. Samuel.
Thank you, Mr. Williams, for having me today. Good afternoon, all those who are joining us via all platforms. This afternoon, I'm overjoyed as Dr. Laws presented the results of the 51 students that would have been repatriated from Jamaica. I think that was significant. And personally, I want to commend the parents who were very cooperative, understanding, and they aided in ensuring that the students remained focused so that they could have, they could have done their exams and everything else. I wish you could have seen the expression of the students when Dr. Laws came down the steps and her herself jumped in joy to say all negative. I think you have to be there to experience something like that. So to all the students and to all the parents. But in particular, I must highlight the work that was done by the security forces to nurture, support the students during those 15 days. You gotta say 15 days. And in particular, I wanna thank the High Command of the Police Force. In particular, Mr. Henry, Comrade Henry, Superintendent Comrade Henry, he was vital, and Inspector Dickinson, but most importantly, Corporal Wilson, Clive Wilson, he was exceptional. He received a very nice gift from the students along with a big bucket of fruits. I thought it was for me, but then they passed me and gave it to Wilson. Today, the Compliance Task Force would have visited a total of 31 business places throughout St. Kitts. And I am also informed that the task force in Nevis continues to do their part as well. From what I am seeing, the collaboration has brought about an increase in the behavioral change that we are expecting. Businesses are becoming more compliant, and to those businesses, I say thank you. Just recently, I received a call from Mr. Satney, where some businesses are requesting for some further information because they want to be compliant, and that is good. What we are trying to do right now is to change behaviors so that persons can adapt to the way we need to function and operate within this pandemic. It's vital, it's important. I also want to use this opportunity to highlight some citizens that have been doing some good work. At this moment, I want to read something that was sent to me by Scotty. I think he told me he's in the USA. And it speaks about a story of a patriotic and highly spirited individual that started with a small idea, and this small idea became something of a movement. And I speak of a social media character by the name of Kyle Marshall. And this states, the donation drive began on Tuesday, 21st April 2020 at about 7:08 p.m. with $50 contribution from myself, with hopes of it being matched by 3 to 4 other individuals in an attempt to financially assist up to 4 persons, 2 residents on St. Kitts and same on Nevis, with at least $50 per individual. My aim is to assist by using my social media platform to raise whatever funds I can to give back to St. Kitts and Nevis people in time of need where there is hardship. The following morning, Wednesday, 22nd, I had accumulated a total of $1,099 and thought that this would be a great initiative to assist even more persons than previously thought. Therefore, on that day, I made an announcement on my social media platform that the donation drive would be running until Friday, 24th and would end at midnight. Although St. Kitts and Nevis was just as willing to donate, and they did, on the morning of Saturday, 25th, I realized that I had accumulated a maximum of $31,286.68 EC dollars. Due to the success of the drive in such a short time, I updated the donors and my social media account that over the next few days, I will be looking at ways to distribute the funds, and due to the large amount collected, I also would be assembling a team to assist with the distribution. Presently, I will be assisting 114 persons or families, both on St. Kitts and Nevis. Today, Friday 15, 2020, I am pleased to announce that the list of names for the persons have been completed, and the $31,000 has been transferred to St. Kitts and Nevis via wire transfer for distribution in the form of prepaid gift cards, for each individual or family. What are the requirements for you to qualify? They are as follows. 1, individuals must be able to prove loss of income was in fact due to the impact of COVID-19. 2, individuals must be able to prove no other form of assistance is being extended to him or her. Verification done via Social Services St. Kitts and Nevis Department. 3, Individuals must be able to provide documentation or proof showing that they are financially responsible and providing for another person within the same household. The committee members are 1. Kyle Marshall, 2. Janet Johnson, 3. Wazim Richard, 4. Michelle Greenaway, 5. Juliska Morton, 6. Shah Matthews, 7. Giovanni Herbert, 8. Delonte Lewis, and 9. Tasha Nolan. To you, our dear citizens and colleagues who continues to help, I say thank you. I also want to acknowledge something that was sent to me by the Vice President of the St. Kitts Nursing Association, and it reads, it was a warm, heartfelt of appreciation on May 12, 2020. The nurses of St. Kitts celebrated Nurses International Day. Despite COVID-19, the atmosphere was convivial with jovial spirits lifted. There were smiles, laughter, joy, and happiness all around, something that seems to be absent during this crisis. This celebration reminded us how much life is still precious, but most of all, to live it to the fullest, but we could not have done it without you. For that, we appreciate our heartfelt gratitude and thank you for making Nurses International Day a time of a lifetime like no other. We would like to personally recognize and give special thanks to Dolores Harris, Permanent Secretary of Ministry of Health, Matron Ms. Kerry Tuckett, Gail Cranston, JNF Operations Manager, executive members of the St. Kitts Nurses Association, KFC, Domino Pizza, Ms. Phipps of Cupcakes Catering, Finger Food Caterers, luncheon sponsors, former matron Mistress Sonia Daly Finley, Mistress Dolores Dane Gums, Next Gen SKN, Watermelon Man, Shadan Production. We thank you for your invaluable contributions and making International Nurses Day 2020 a year of the nurse and midwife a success. Yours faithfully, Amorose Francis, Vice President of the St. Kitts Nursing Association. I think also we should recognize the hard work as well of the executive, such as the Honorable Minister, who gave a very powerful remarks during this time. Today, here at NEMA, we saw His Excellency, the Resident Ambassador, Tom Lee, and from the Republic of China, Taiwan, hand over to the Honorable Premier of Nevis, Mr. Mark Brantley, 60,000 masks. He handed over 60,000 masks to the people, to the government and people of St. Kitts and Nevis. These masks, I am informed, are to be distributed to the general public. So to the people of Taiwan, we say thank you on behalf of our citizens and residents, and by extension, the government. We will await for a system to be put in place so that we can disperse these masks or distribute these masks to you. Again, thank you for joining us. Thank you for your continued support, and we look forward to your questions and potential answers. Dr. Laws, I see you're coming.
This afternoon, we acknowledge receipt of a check valued at 1,000 EC dollars received from Mr. Errol Williams of AE&J Construction, Taylor's Village. On behalf of the Ministry of Health and the COVID-19 Task Force, we want to say a warm thank you, Mr. Williams, for your kind contribution to this fight against COVID-19. Thank you, Mr. Williams. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Laws. That brings us to our question and answer segment. And the first question goes to Dr. Wilkinson. He continues to open the batting. Someone shared an article with me today that has me terrified. The headline was, "Coronavirus could be spread through farts," says doctor. The article was by an Australian doctor. Can you shed some light on this, as I will hate to be taken out this way? Dr. Wilkinson.
Thank you, Leslie, for the question, and it's good for us to be able to come here on a daily basis to educate the public, because there's a lot of information out there and persons are having a great difficulty deciphering what is true and what is not. I know that I've been called by a number of friends, patients, etc., because this article has been shared quite widely on social media and other media, and it's misinforming persons. Let me start off by saying what we know about the spread of coronavirus. We know that it's spread through respiratory droplets, and if these droplets get on a contaminated surface, you can contaminate yourself by putting your hands by your face or your eyes. We also know that the virus can be present in the feces of some persons who are infected with the coronavirus. As a matter of fact, up to 55% of persons can have the virus in their stool. But we also know that it is not considered infectious because there is no evidence that the coronavirus can be spread by the fecal-oral route, meaning that you cannot spread it by your fingers being contaminated with stool and passing it to your mouth. Now, as it relates to this paper out of Australia, the headline itself was misleading, because when you read into the paper, what the gentleman said was that he supposed that if someone was to be infected with the coronavirus and they were to pass a gas without any pants, that is bare bottom, and someone was up close and they were to take a deep sniff, then they might be at risk. And he was using the argument to get there from some experiments, one where 2 sets of persons were asked to pass a gas on a Petri dish, one without clothes and one with. And the one without clothes, where the Petri dish was 5 centimeters or 2 inches from the anus, that Petri dish grew bacteria from the feces. Now, 5 centimeters is 2 inches, and so I don't think anybody's going to be 2 inches from someone without clothes who is passing a gas. But we know conclusively that the virus cannot be spread by gas, and so one doesn't need to worry. But if we're talking about proper etiquette in terms of coughing, etc., then if one wants to pass a gas, they should do that in private also, so there should be no risk at all.
Okay, this question is for Superintendent Henry. It's a very long commentary, which I will not read, but only to say that, Superintendent Henry, can you reiterate the proper wearing of mask, and for people not to have their entire face covered and only their eyes out? Can you reiterate the law with respect to that?
For a moment, I thought people were seeking clarity whether or not they should wear their mask over their eyes. Of course, we know that is not possible if you intend to move about freely. But what is recommended, or what the law requires, is that your mask must be wear on your face, covering your nose and your mouth. Right? The law provides for penalties for persons who do not wear masks when they're in public, or if you're wearing your mask under your neck, as I am seeing a lot of people are doing, then that does not constitute wearing your mask. Your mask must cover your nose and your mouth.
Thank you, Superintendent Henry. This question is, I think, for Mr. Samuel or someone on that task force. Is there any ongoing training or preparation for schools to reopen in terms of, you know, the hygienic practices, the social distancing? Is there anything like that being done to prepare for the opening of schools?
Thank you, Mr. Williams, for the question. Very good question indeed, as we are all anxious to see school open again, but it has to be done in a methodical and slow process. Yeah. From what I gather and what I have been informed, the Safe School Committee should be meeting soon to discuss those protocols for resuming school. That will be happening shortly, and once that happens, then from there are going to be several meetings to discuss with the task force, the medical team, and everybody else, so that we could have the desired protocols to hopefully resume school in a safe and secure manner. Thank you.
And these are our last set of questions for today. The first one, how long does the virus last in someone who is asymptomatic? And the other questions, on CNN today, they spoke of using blood from cows to treat coronavirus. How does that work? And one is a statement. Mr. Williams, this is not a question, but I do hope you still read it. I want to say what an outstanding job you and your team have been doing to keep us informed. The fear of this virus would have killed me if it was not for your calming voice and the information given daily. Keep up the good work. Dr. Wilkinson?
Right. And one or two of our local cases were asymptomatic, and it took approximately 27 to 28 days before we got their recovery tests back negative. So in other words, these two individuals remained asymptomatic throughout, and we tested them at about day 21, results came back positive. However, at about day 28, after diagnosis, their RT-PCR test came back negative. A couple days after, the second or the repeated RT-PCR test also came back negative. So it takes about 28 to 30 days for the individual status for the result to become negative, even though they were asymptomatic throughout. Thank you.
Thank you. As it relates to the cow plasma, yes, there was a news clip today about the use of cow's plasma in fighting COVID-19, but just let me back up a bit, because we have spoken before here about using convalescent plasma to treat COVID-19, that is persons who recovered from COVID-19, and the doctors will go in and harvest the plasma with the antibodies and try to inject these antibodies into persons who are very ill to see whether or not these antibodies can help to fight off the virus. The problem with that is it's difficult to get those antibodies in large volumes to effectively treat a large number of persons. And so there's a biotech firm, I think is in South Dakota, where they were doing genetic engineering on cows, where they took the cow's DNA, they remove a piece and they splice it with human genes. And then they infected these cows with the coronavirus, and the antibodies that these cows produced were therefore human antibodies. And they are looking into taking these human antibodies that can be produced in large volumes from the cows and inject them into humans to protect them from the virus. However, these studies are just in phase 1 trials and they're not ready as yet, although they appear to have some hope. And so we just need to wait and see whether or not in the future it will be used on a large scale. Thank you.
Thank you to our Chief Medical Officer and our Medical Chief of Staff who continue to avail themselves to answer your questions where the coronavirus is concerned. I want to thank all of you for the questions that you posed for today's daily briefing. Thank you so much. We look forward to hearing from you each day. We say a hearty thank you to the Chief Personnel Officer, Ms. Sheridan Warner, for her address in terms of government operations. We also thank Superintendent Henry for always giving us an update with respect to the law, and Chief Medical Officer Dr. Hazel Laws. We also thank Mr. Abdia Samuel, who is the chair of the COVID-19 National Task Force. We thank Mrs. Christmas Jacob for her service of sign language. We thank the media, of course, for continuing to partner with us in this fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. We want to say a heartfelt happy birthday to Miss Ophelia Blanchard, who is coordinator of e-government and who continues to assist us here at the NEOC in terms of the provision of information and IT services. So, Ms. Blanchard, a very happy birthday to you. We thank you very much for joining us today. And tomorrow we will be back for another NEOC COVID-19 daily briefing. Until then, continue to be safe and take care of yourself. I am Les Roy Williams.
When you feel a sneeze or a cough coming, try to prevent sneezing or coughing into your hands, as this will contaminate your hands and spread germs. Covering your mouth prevents the spread of germs. You probably knew that, but the way you cover up also matters. And that means breaking a habit you've done all your life. Cover your mouth and nose with flexed elbow or a tissue, not your hands. Discard the used tissue in an appropriate bin immediately. Then, wash your hands with soap and running water to help stop the spread of germs. Turn on water. Wet hands. Apply soap and lather up. Focus on washing your hands for at least 20 seconds. Wash the front of your hands, the back, between fingers and around the nails. Rinse hands under running water. Use something clean to wipe your hands, preferably a disposable paper towel. The best way to wash your hands is using running water and soap, but sometimes we don't have that available. When not available, use hand sanitizer that should have at least 60% alcohol content. Your health is your responsibility. This message was brought to you by the Ministry of Health, St. Kitts.
is on.